started and then I got caught up with this other piece of Don King, who's just a wretched, slimy, reptilian mother.
So it's more than just a business relationship.
Absolutely. Basically, he's just like anyone else. He's a father, he has children, he loves his grandkids, and he's happy, and he's happy his life's very successful.
He's just a bad man. It's a real bad man. He abused you, he's ruthless, he's deplorable. He doesn't know how to love anybody.
Do you think he ever, as people said about others, robbed from you?
I don't believe he ever robbed from me.
Don King is facing a grand jury investigation, and there are accusations that he mishandled Mike Tyson's money.
First of all, just let me say, only in America, I'm excited about HBO having a fantastic show tonight, another sellout for HBO.
The trajectory of Mike's life was about to change.
It's Mike, Big Mike Tyson, in the ring, set for that next step. Backs off from a sharp right uppercut to the body by Tyson.
Hey.
The count is 6. The count is 8. He will not get up. It's over.
Sam, show me what heavyweight throws punches that quick.
This man's talents and skills and how he's honing those skills. Talking to Jim Jacobs there.
But here, the spotlight falls most directly on 20-year-old Mike Tyson, whose public appeal grows every time he fights. Marvis Frazier, who has just entered the ring here in the Glens Falls Civic Center. The record 16-1 with 7 knockouts.
You know, because I started to learn who I could really be. Not who I wanted to be, but who I could be at that particular stage of my life.
Tyson comes out slugging.
He comes out smoking like Marvis's father, Joe. Uppercut! Oh! You got knocked the fuck out.
It did not last 20 seconds.
His fastest knockout, which came against Marvis Frazier in 1986.
Right now, there is Jim Jacobs, yes.
Manager Mike Tyson talking to him.
Look at a guy like Mike Tyson in his prime. I mean, he was the epitome of dedication.
By the fight, I was confident. I trained real hard with my trainer, Kevin Rooney, who I owe a great deal to.
Kevin Rooney had guided Tyson's training every step of the way.
So strong mentality.
Much like Mike, Rooney was a disciple of D'Amato and had been with Mike since he was a kid. Their closeness allowed Rooney to continue to press Tyson for strict training discipline, despite Tyson's growing fame and ego.
Well, the fact remains, the press and the public alike continuing to sing the praises of this man, Mike Tyson. They think the next great champion.
You would get into the ring, and people were scared of you.
Okay, don't anybody go to the toilet or the refrigerator. Mike Tyson has short working hours. He punches in and punches out.
One of the things that's always fascinated me about you is this ability you have to intimidate opponents. A lot of them seem to have been beaten before they got in the ring almost.
To weaponize fear in a way few ever have.
When you came around, all of a sudden, everybody's watching heavyweight boxing. If the heavyweight boxing wasn't boring again, it was the most crazy, exciting thing in sports.
Mike Tyson, at age 20, would contend for the WBC heavyweight title.
He will have a shot, it appears, at the heavyweight title. The undefeated heavyweight has signed to fight in the HBO title unification series, and he'll face Trevor Berbick, the WBC title holder, probably sometime this fall. And if Tyson should beat Berbick, he would become the youngest man in history ever to win the heavyweight championship.
Berbick was the last person to fight Ali, and he hurt Ali very bad. When you fought him, was there any revenge?
100%, yes, no doubt about it. I said, I can't wait till I get him. Him and Larry Holmes.
The fight brought out all the A-listers. Wow. And Tony Danza.
I laugh at Tony Danza.
And I'm super creepy, Rob Lowe. In the morning, I'm making waffles.
I am the greatest.
So now the moment of truth is not far off. This will be the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the World. He could go into the record books tonight if he can capture the title from the reigning champ, Trevor Burbick. This is what Mike Tyson has trained his whole life for. This is what Customato and Jimmy Jacobs trained this man for.
I believe he will be the youngest heavyweight champion of all time. And if he remains dedicated, interested, and without any distractions, I believe that eventually he'll go down in history as the greatest heavyweight champion ever.
R.I.P. to Carlos, who helped him to
Question was talking about the situation. He was saying, you know, if you really took a deep interest in it, you would be champ of the world. And he said, with no problem, you would be champ.
There is electricity in the crowd.
Just need to believe from someone.
On the line, the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the world.
Baited it in him.
It would have happened to any fighter, because at this particular point I was throwing, what can I say, hydrogen bombs. Every punch was with murderous intention.
You talk about being on the stage on a moment and capturing that moment.
Position, not using the jab of the bell end. Round one, a good round one for Mike Tyson.
I'll be mad too.
This is round two. The WBC Heavyweight Championship of the world. Trevor Burbick and Mike Tyson.
That was the coming out. That was the star going on Broadway and saying, I am a star. Look at me.
And he's down. He'll have to take the standing 8 count as he snaps right up the count to 4.
He absolutely destroyed him. He knocked him all over the ring. It was over in 2 rounds, and at that time you thought, this guy is going to be the champion for a decade or more.
Tyson seized the title in spectacular fashion.
He goes down. He should be able to get up from this. His legs may be shut. They are. As Trevor Burbick.
Oh my God!
Mike is a boy prodigy. He's 20 years old. He is quite an incredible force in the heavyweight division, but he's just a boy.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
In a devastating second-round knockout, Mike Tyson, age 20, became the youngest heavyweight champion in boxing history.
Yeah.
His managers, cornermen, and friends ran to congratulate him. Tyson kissed Jim Jacobs.
Jimmy Jacobs in there. Bill Payton also worked with him.
At 20, he was the youngest heavyweight champion in history.
If it wasn't for Cuss, this would never happen. The idea I'm the youngest champ in the world. The idea that it'll live forever. The record I think will never be broken. And it's what I can say. He's probably up there right now saying, you did a lot of mistakes. You did a lot of mistakes.
The title brought fame, money, and temptation.
Juvenile delinquent to media superstar in 7 years, he adorns the covers of magazines. A charismatic young man who displays fearsome power in the ring.
What was that like, to be the youngest heavyweight champion? Did you get to enjoy it, or was it just pressure, leeches, trust problems, betrayal, that everything that came with money and success after that?
Yeah, but I thought that's what it was.
Hi, I'm Mike Tyson, heavyweight champ of the world. Let's talk boxing.
Great champions have their fans.
Help me. Help you.
Iron Man. Say no to drugs.
But very few have been cheered and loved like this one.
Mike Tyson's Punch-Out from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power.
The world media has descended on Las Vegas again. And one of them will leave the ring with the WBC and the WBA titles.
Astronomers have recently discovered a rare supernova, an exploding star. Mike Tyson is boxing's supernova, a force of nature who has exploded on all of us.
Already strapped, Tyson now sought to unify the heavyweight titles.
Another big left hand. Thomas is hurt. And now Tyson moves in for the kill. 2 uppercuts and a left hand. Thomas trying to hold on. Serious trouble.
Oh, he's gone. How is he supposed to that? Oh my God.
And down he goes.
Wow.
It's over. It is over. Thomas did not make it by the count of 10.
I think he's going to be heavyweight champion for a very long, long time.
A man with a chance on August 1 to unify the championship in the eyes of all three existing governing bodies.
One man will climb out of this 20-foot square with the undisputed title for the first time since February 15, 1978.
Tyson aimed to unify all three heavyweight titles.
Mike Tyson entertains the public. When he enters the arena, it's the same feeling people get if they're going to watch a picture like Jaws. They know they're going to be shocked, entertained, amazed, but affected emotionally.
Oh, come on! Oh my God!
5, 6, 7.
Round
iron.
Mike Tyson had become the first undisputed heavyweight champion in 10 years.
Well, how many people could handle that, too? I mean, the money, the fame, at that age, you're the champion, the baddest man alive.
For the Holmes fight, Mike was going with 3 girls, who seemed to be semi-serious about 3 women. This was Miss America, Robin, and a very gorgeous model.
Larry Holmes had famously beaten Muhammad Ali down in Ali's final days of boxing. D'Amato took the Holmes beating of Ali so personal, he called Ali the day after to complain about it.
The next morning, Cuss is on the phone with Muhammad Ali. How do you let that bum hit on you, Kev Ali? How do you the bum? Why you let that bum beat on you? Cuss, he's almost getting sensitive, emotional. Why is the bum? And he was saying, but I said, when I get big, I'm gonna get him for you. I'm gonna revenge you. If I said some stupid, I'm gonna restore your honor. And then January 22nd, I'm fighting him, and then Ali comes into the ring and says, get him for me.
Wow! That's crazy! That's crazy!
When Tyson was in his prime as a knockout artist, he was so lethal.
Wow!
There had never been a heavyweight like him before.
Oh, a big right hand, and down goes the former champion. 17 seconds. He may be able to get by the round now. He should be hanging on. Now
oh my God, this is crazy, guys. He just slapping him around like this.
Get him for me.
He's like, I got you, Ali. I got you. I got you. Don't worry about it.
Didn't even follow
Tyson would marry Robin Givens following the fight.
I married some people from during my addict stage, and
Once Mike got married, Robin, Givens, and Ruth, of course, were very interested in taking over Mike's career.
They moved into a grand New Jersey mansion.
But as soon as she got married, she called up and said, she's Mrs. Mike Tyson. I'm taking over. I want to see all the books and all the records.
The ink wasn't dry on their marriage license before she hit the bank.
It was reported to us here in New York that Robin and Ruth were at the bank already claiming Mike's account.
And Givens began pushing Mike to manage himself, which meant Robin would manage him.
Within 2 hours of the champion's arrival here, Tyson
snake,
Mania was in full
right.
Tyson headed to Japan to face Tony Tubbs.
マイク・タイソンの来日3日目の様子をご覧いただきましょう。
Giant. He is a symbol of the United States.
Now that I'm married, I no longer spend my wealth. My wife spends all my wealth.
The new bride's arrival only added more fuel to what was already the hottest story in town.
Tyson spent more time touring the country with Givens than he did training.
Mike Tyson fight as Mrs. Champion. Robin, inquiring minds want to know, how does a woman who went to Sarah Lawrence and Harvard Medical School wind up falling in love with a guy who's a graduate of the School of Hard Knocks?
God, I want to know too. There's something, we have a lot in common, traditional families, and we just sort of love each other.
I'm not from there. I'm from the ghetto. I'm from the dirt hard.
Yeah, like what is she talking about? Does she know him? Like what is she talking about?
Segregated ghetto. That's where I'm from.
There's something, we have a lot in common, traditional families.
Tyson exploded on the scene in Japan. Swarmed by adoring fans, he was treated like a fabled warrior, from some ancient
Of course, if you have
time.
seen Tyson before, you are aware of what is called the gladiator look. No robe, no towels, no socks, just the black trunks, the boots, and the 10-ounce Everlast glove.
He brings a professional record of 33 victories without a loss, 29 KOs, and 15 in the first round alone.
For the first time since Mike's been fighting as a professional, the other co-manager, Jim Jacobs, has not been able to make this trip.
Tyson's head movement was eroding, becoming less and less effective.
But Tyson is now being hit, isn't he? Whereas in his early fights, he wasn't.
1 minute to go in round one. Tubbs landed a left.
Cuss recognized early on the importance of Tyson staying very active.
The concept behind Mike fighting every 2 weeks was customized.
But money and the influences of Don King and Robin Givens have altered the way Mike approached his career.
30 seconds left in the round. Both fighters have had their say here. Tubbs is hurt. Tubbs is hurt. And the fans are enjoying. They're showing their appreciation here.
Oh, I hope
This is your first fight as a newlywed. Were you thinking about that at all? Did you want to put on a special performance in any way?
Not at all, because when I'm in the ring, I'm objective, tunnel vision, and it's just, this is my world in here.
In 1988,
That's all him.
Jim Jacobs
That's all mine.
passed away.
Funeral services were held at Hillside Memorial Cemetery.
Wait, what?
Objective, tunnel vision, and it's just, this is my world in here.
In 1988, Jim Jacobs passed away.
Funeral services were held at Hillside Memorial Cemetery for boxing manager Jimmy Jacobs.
Manager Jim Jacobs died in 1988.
Tyson had lost his second surrogate father.
With no love in your life until you're 13.
And then you come into all of this money because you're the best fighter in the world.
That created the opportunity for Don King to move in on a confused 21-year-old kid.
Before Jacobs was buried, Don King made his move.
Boxing complex of promoter Don King has become a home away from home for heavyweight champion Mike Tyson.
Now in the picture were a wife, a mother-in-law, promoter, and advisor.
Tyson Spinks was the most anticipated heavyweight fight in years.
$1 million gate occurs when the two fighters are so popular that the public demands the fight.
But the lead-up was dominated by Robin Givens.
Robin Givens Tyson has apparently filed a lawsuit against Bill Caton.
He was in the mix with Givens. Don King is trying to pull him away from Caton.
King used the media to insinuate Caton was stealing from Tyson. Ironic, since King would go on to steal over $100 million from Tyson.
Greed reaches at the deepest core of people. It reaches deep at them, and they're fighting for me and stuff and all that crap. And
Mike doesn't
that
deserve
made it
any
easy for
of
Don King to sneak in, and he used, he got me good.
So, I'm in the dressing room with Tyson, and I'm looking to rattle this guy.
The manager of Michael Spinks, who went wild after he discovered that Mike Tyson had had his hands taped.
Spinks' manager got cute before the fight and forced Tyson to rewrap his hands to try and throw him off. Tyson began putting his fists through walls in anger.
And he's punching. He's punching holes in the wall.
The sound prompted Spinks to investigate.
Oh, no. This guy's getting ready to fight my guy, my little guy.
The undefeated man who brings the drinks, Michael Spears.
As always, no shirt, no robe, no accoutrement.
The life that he lived back then was unmanageable. He was the king of the world. He was in his 20s. He was buck wild, just going crazy, flatlining people. Everywhere he went, people would throw rose petals at his feet and screaming, cheering fans.
A record of 34-0, and that doesn't count his recent bouts with his wife and his manager.
That night, Tyson was as good as any fighter has ever been when they got in that ring.
There's something where you attain its heights and you just don't do it again. But that night he reached his peak. It was the most awesome heavyweight fight I ever saw in my life.
landed inside, and Spinks went down.
That night, Tyson was as good as any heavyweight has ever been.
And he's down again and in serious trouble.
He's not going to make it. It's all over.
Back in it. Let's go. Let's go.
Mike, when he won that title, he had all the titles, and he was married to Robin Gibbons, and things started to happen.
I just feel like the people in his life didn't
My
want
career,
the best.
you know what I mean? There's no fighter like me. I was reading today there was some fighters in the papers quoting, I don't like Mike Tyson because he's too cocky and he's arrogant. But for all the fighters that said that, you know what I mean, I let them know there's no fighter like me, and I can beat any man in the world.
Bill Caton managed Tyson's career from the beginning, but was forced out of his job the night of the Spinks fight.
Tyson fired Bill Caton, turning to Don King for management and promotion.
He changed entirely. His marriage and Don King changed him into a different person.
After his marriage to Robin Givens and his association with Don King, Tyson's life seemed to unravel. Lawsuits, car accidents, and domestic brawls.
After the Spinks fight, Tyson went into a downward spiral of legal troubles and financial issues.
The stormy summer of '88, the broken hand against Mitch Green.
Mitch Green threw the first blow. He punched him in the chest, right around, this area right here.
Green suffered an injury to his eye. Tyson a hairline fracture to his right hand. And who knows how much damage to his reputation. Early this morning, Tyson was expected to appear at New York's 25th precinct.
He wrecked his car after a reported heated argument with Robin Givens.
It's my belief Mike really turned into the Mike we know today. As his marriage to Robin Givens came apart, so did he.
In a nationally televised interview, Robin Givens told Barbara Walters that Tyson was a manic depressive.
He gets out of control, throwing, screaming.
A charge that would later prove groundless.
He shakes, he pushes, he swings.
But when I look back at it now, I can't believe I sat there and didn't say anything.
Robin Givens divorced him. Their marriage lasted 8 months. She took his house, $10 million, and Brad Pitt.
So she brought a guy home to see her. You want to know who it is? Brad Pitt.
Disgusting.
Brad must have been smoking a joint, or he must have been drinking something, because he was real close to me
Brad
in the car.
Pitt,
he had
though?
no idea. He didn't see me.
I just felt so bad for Mike.
But then when he got out the car, he saw me.
Oh,
Brad Pitt?
And I lost a lot of money. I kept getting lawsuits. Lawsuits this, lawsuit here, lawsuit here. And most of my money I tricked off on lawsuits. If I spend $250 million on girls and trips and clothes, that's nothing to what I did on lawsuits, okay?
It's not a question that I stood up for Bill Caton. I stood up for what was right.
He worked for everything
for what
he had.
Cuss had started.
Having people like that in his
Longtime trainer
life,
Kevin
snakes,
Rooney
just
protested, so Tyson
people.
fired Rooney too.
Rooney was a wonderful trainer for him. Kevin Rooney loved him, but Don King made him fire Kevin Rooney. And I think the day Tyson fired Kevin Rooney, there was a cap put on Mike Tyson's development as a fighter.
Rooney had trained Tyson from 1982 to 1988. The final strings to Cus D'Amato were severed. It was now the Don King Show.
So suddenly there was a whole new cast of characters around Mike. And I think that Kevin Rooney didn't fit into the picture.
Tyson came out firing in his first fight without Kevin Rooney.
Yes, that's the new executive trainer in charge of the team. He was really imposed on Tyson. Tyson didn't want him, but finally he agreed to accept him.
While his power was still there, his head movement was still slowing.
He stopped moving his head. He started to jab less.
Oh, lovely left hook there from Bruno. Cracking punch.
Under Don King, his boxing technique began to decline and erode.
His skills were eroding. Less lateral movement began to expose him to more headshots.
Having your life, you guys. Just because they're in your life doesn't mean that they want the best. You know what you can
He can't survive it. Terry Lawrence is in with the towel. It must be all over. The best champion the world has seen for some time.
How dare them challenge me with somewhat primitive skills. They're just as good as dead.
Mike Tyson is the most famous athlete in the world. Fame has even followed Tyson across the sea to Japan.
Tyson's in Japan to defend his heavyweight boxing title against James Buster Douglas.
Rumors swirled about Tyson skipping gym time.
After my divorce from Robin, I lost a lot of desire in my fighting and stuff. Matter of fact, I was training and my sparring partners dropped me.
Before the fight, rumors had swirled about Tyson's mental and physical state. He'd been knocked down in sparring.
I had a few fights with lesser opponents, and I was successful without training hard at all, basically for the fight. And so I didn't take Buster serious.
There was no longer any voice in his life that would dare speak against him.
So I went to Japan, hanging out with a lot of women, had women in my room.
Bobby Brown said that Mike Tyson and I were in Japan. We basically stayed up all night partying with 12 Japanese girls. I kept telling Mike, you need to go to sleep and get some
lying.
sleep.
Stop lying, Bobby.
He said, you need to get some sleep
right.
for the fight tomorrow. He said, then you told Bobby, listen, I'm not no amateur. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I did tell that.
Right, nobody can beat me. I got this. I go to bed whenever I gotta go to bed.
By this time, Tyson was alone. No wife, no family, no real friends.
Well, in the important game of expectations, this fight is over before it begins or soon thereafter.
It's a tragic story, but it's also like there's so many lessons in that story. It's like for all of us, it's like there's a lot to learn, you know, what happened when it got all the way to Buster Douglas, when it was like felt like you can't lose.
Please welcome the challenger, James Buster Douglas.
Buster Douglas always had a tremendous amount of talent, but he never totally put it together. But then his mom died, and he